Hello and welcome to Impact Africa, our online talk show where we get to have conversations with diverse people and organizations who are impacting lives and communities positively. In addition, Impact Africa highlights and celebrates events, places, and positive news. My name is Dr. Kemi Akiode Adebayo, known as Dr. Mama K. And in today's program, and to share a story, is an amazing person. She's a pace setter, she's innovative, she's courageous. It's none other than Ms Charlot Magayi. She is a social entrepreneur and the founder of Mukuru Clean Stoves, which is based in Siaya County in Kenya. My dear sister Charlotte, you're welcome to Impact Africa.
Thank you.
How
Thank
are
you so
you?
much for having me. I'm well. I'm well. Thank you. How are you?
Or as you say in Swahili, Abari Gani?
I'm Zuri Sana.
Okay, so let's start off with just tell us about yourself, who you are, where you were born, your education, life growing up, anything you want to share.
Well, thank you so much. Like you said, my name is Charlotte Magayi. I'm from Nairobi, Kenya originally, even though now I'm based in Western Kenya. And I was born here in Nairobi, in Mukuru, and I had a very interesting start to life. I lost my dad when I was about 2 years old. At 10, my mom also died. And so I ended up being raised by my older siblings. And at 16, I became pregnant while in high school. So that meant I had to drop out of school and, take care of my young child. And I got a job to sell charcoal essentially in Mukuru slum by the roadside. Charcoal is also what I used to cook. And sometimes I was paid like $1 a day, and sometimes I was paid in charcoal itself. So it wasn't a very hopeful life at the time. And my daughter and I used charcoal and a traditional stove to cook. And when she was around 2 years old, I was cooking one day and she was playing. And the pot plus what I was cooking fell on her, and she got really severely burnt on both arms and both feet. And around that time, it was in 2012, I wondered if I could do something about that, if I could build a more stable stove to reduce the cases of burns in children around that age. And that's when I decided I needed to save up and figure out how I was going to take myself back to school.
Wow. Wow, what a start. Before we go into all that first, because for me, that is something I wasn't even aware, losing your mom and dad at such a tender age, and as well, falling pregnant, at an age, 16. Tell me about Kenya before we go on to that. Tell me about Kenya. What are you mostly proud of as a Kenyan?
What am I mostly proud of as a Kenyan? I think it's the spirit of the youth here. We are go-getters. We work hard. I mean, Kenyans have very powerful stories of just not accepting, the situation or the life that they dealt, and the people who push harder to get access to a better life, or at least, the Kenyans that I grew up with that I've come across. And that makes me so proud when I leave the country and I meet them in Nigeria, in South Africa, and we are speaking, and you see just how they're not content. They want to work harder. They want to make, other youth proud. They want to inspire, future generations. So that is the one thing that makes me really proud, that we are not there yet as a country, but the youth here are just really hardworking, very ambitious individuals who want to have a say in what the future of the next generations look like.
So for you, what was your first job? So was it about the store, what you were doing there? And this is where I want to go back now. Sorry, I'm going to be going Kenyan, personal, business, and everything combined. So tell us, how was that for you? Your first job, was it basically what you said, that space of at that young age, which some people would have given up? How was that for you? What was your first job?
My first job straight out of school, I was pregnant, was taking care of my daughter and selling charcoal by the roadside. And it was a very flexible job because I did it just outside the one room shack that I lived in. And I remember sometimes even being able to come from work and going up the flight of stairs and remembering, oh no, there's no dinner, and talking to the woman who would boil beans and sell it to people, and she'd give me, the left of it to take upstairs for my daughter. And I wasn't okay with that. At some point, it was, this isn't my life. This isn't how I spend the rest of my life. This isn't my story. And growing up with my brothers, I have 7 siblings. I think we all understood that in order to be able to get ourselves out of that space, we needed to educate ourselves. We needed to love school because school was our only way out, or talent, because a lot of people I grew up with ended up being musicians and actresses as well. You needed to work hard at it. You needed to find something you were really passionate about. And I don't think I had any talent. I tried dancing. I was bad at it. So
I'm sure you were not. Come on, Charlotte. I saw you dancing the last time we met. A little bit.
Yeah, it's like maybe over the years I've picked up some rhythm, but as a kid, I think I was more talented academically because just, being a star was not, I didn't have no star power, but I could read. And I remember having this love for books because I noticed very quickly in school that I would be called to speak at the assembly because I spoke really well. And this is because my brothers would, in the beginning, force me to read novels and force me to read newspapers out loud to them. And I hated that. But as I grew, I realized it opened opportunities for me. So then I fell in love with reading. So even as I had my daughter, and she got banned, and I was so desperate to get out of there to provide a better life for her, I knew my way out was going to be going back to school. And so in Kenya, we have something, I think it's something that should be available across the world, but it's called adult school. It's essentially for people who didn't finish high school, and you can go
I think
into
most countries have it.
Yeah, and it works sort of like a college. And so I enrolled in that. And while there and trying to figure out what I could do to change our situation, I learned about the impacts of household air pollution and energy poverty. And so my plan initially was to build a more stable stove to reduce the impact, the number of burns in children under the age of 5. But then I found out high cost of fuel and household air pollution was a bigger problem. And so if I wanted to solve that one problem, I needed to be able to solve all 3. And so then I designed a stove while still in school that was stable enough and would hopefully reduce household air pollution. And that is essentially how Mukuru Clean Stoves was born. It took years to be able to register it in the first place, but the conceptualization of the company was done while I was figuring out what I wanted to do with my life that would impact communities around the world, but it's essentially just in Mukuru. Like in the beginning, I thought I could just sell stoves in my community because that's where my heart was. That's all I knew at that time.
So now let's go to Mukuru, which you've spoken about now. What does Mukuru mean, by the way? Does it have a meaning?
Mukuru can mean different things in different languages, but in Kenya, Mukuru is it's the largest slum. It's the second largest slum in Nairobi, right just after Kibera. There's these 3 parts of it. I grew up in Mukuru Kwa Njenga, which is one part. And I decided to name my company Mukuru Clean Stoves because I was building stoves for Mukuru. Initially, the plan was never really, I didn't dream big enough that I would get out of Mukuru. And often I tell people that the reason why was because when you come from a state of hopelessness, you do not have the opportunity to dream past your stomach. You can dream big, but in that concept, where I was at the time, dreaming of providing stoves in Mukuru was so big that now when I look back at it, I'm like, wow, that was really not much. And I wanted to always remember why my company was founded to begin with. And so I decided I was going to name it after where my inspiration came from in the first place. And yeah, that's how Mukuru Clean Stoves was born.
Interesting. So tell us, what do you do in Mukuru Clean Stoves specifically? Because I know, like you said, your why had changed as well over the years. So what do you now do? What services do you provide? And who do you provide for?
So right now what we do is two different things. So one, we use recycled materials, which are collected, we source locally. We train local youth to be able to use them to make improved cook stoves, which we then sell through a network of local women business owners. So we have factories where we manufacture the cook stoves, and then we partner with women who have small businesses, you know, tailors, grocery sellers, and they sell our stoves and they earn a 10% commission on it. So we currently partner with about 530 local women business owners in Western Kenya. And we have about 66 artisans who work, who build the stoves. So Mukuru currently employs about 107 people, and we have different partners from the women. We work with women groups as well. It's a company that was built to solve the problem of energy poverty with the help of women who are the ones who are most hurt by its impacts.
You've already shared a lot of your journey there, saying, especially coming from somebody who lost both parents at such a tender age and, went through some of what you've gone through, your daughter getting burnt and so on. What are some of the challenges, for you even setting up a business, a social enterprise like Mukuru, which has already 107 staff, like you said, and working with over 500 businesses and with 60 artisans? What are some of the challenges you've had to handle, and how have you managed? Because you're still very young. Sorry for saying that, but I can't believe I'm hearing all this from you young people when you come about this, and you've done so much at such a tender age. So what are some of the challenges, and how have you managed to address them?
I think we've had two major challenges, and one is more of getting people to buy into the idea. As a business owner or as a founder, you cannot walk this journey alone. You need partners, you need financiers, you need people to believe enough in the dream, to want to help you get into more households or create more impact. And first of all, registering the business itself took a very long time because of lack of resources, just not knowing what it is it entailed to start a business to begin with. We had an idea, we had a design for a stove, but we didn't know how a business was supposed to be run. So it took longer than it should have. If we had access to those resources. But then even after we registered the business, getting people to buy into it, because we need investors, for instance. And I'm an African woman from a slum, and we don't have a lot of investors in Africa to begin with. But even if we did, just the fact that your founder story already is sort of a write-off. People are like, are you sure you can get it done though, given your background? And when you look outside to those investors who then come in to invest in Africa and are investing in other social enterprises, aside from the fact that they do not understand that household pollution and energy poverty is a problem because it's not their reality, the second issue then becomes, because you haven't had the resources to achieve impact, they cannot fund you, except you need those resources. When you go to investors and they're like, where's the traction? And you're like, but I don't have enough of it because I need you to believe in me, first of all. So it was always so discouraging, to tell people, this is what I've done. I've sold, 100 stoves. And if you fund me, I will be able to sell 10,000. And they're like, you need to go sell 2,000 before you come sell me. You come and try and pitch me for 10,000. And that took longer than it should have had we had other resources. And then the bigger problem that we have faced, and we're still facing to this date, the funding has started changing over time with people seeing the benefit of our social enterprise. But the other issue is in rural areas where we are now currently based, some people just don't understand that household air pollution is a problem that kills people. And even when they do not have enough money to invest in an efficient stove. So getting the people that you built the stove for to be able to buy that stove, first of all, trying to put them in a position where they can afford it in the first place, by providing payment plans, and partnering with other organizations to subsidize the cost, getting them to understand why it's important to switch their cooking methods from open fires and traditional stoves to efficient stoves is a major problem that has been over the years part of our marketing and advertising plan. It is to ensure that people are educated, that they are aware that it is a problem that needs to be solved before we even present, the solution to them. But again, with any other thing that you do with time solves a lot of these problems. Time creates traction, time creates, enables people to understand better why they need the stove and increases adoption. So time has helped us. It's been on our side for the longest time. But those are challenges that it stunted the growth of a social enterprise that I believe should have taken off way sooner than it did.
So proud of you, Charlotte. So challenges there. Obviously, there's been loads and loads of success stories for you. You've won a lot of awards from, in fact, I can read all of them because they're just so much of it in the green space in terms of women, youth, Forbes Under 30, Headshot Prize winner, Africa Business Hero. I could go on and on. For you, what are you mostly proud of? In terms of your journey and especially how you've navigated that journey, up till now. What is your success story for you?
What am I mostly proud of? Let me say this. You know my story, you know where I came from, and you know that for such a journey, success could look like the first award we ever won, which was a UN and World Bank award, and that is big. I think for me, never allowing myself to feel like I have made it has been part of the reason why I've kept pushing harder and harder and not accepting that this is big and so now we celebrate. I did celebrate those wins, I don't get me wrong, but understanding that more could be done and using that as momentum to keep going. So those awards, any that we won, pushed me even harder to want to achieve more, as opposed to putting me in a celebratory mode where I was like, oh, we've done this, so now I can relax. And I'll give you an example. Last year we won the Headshot Prize, and this is a Prince William award, and it comes with £1 million, and they have loads of partners who are asking us, but how more can we support, and what else can we do? And I realized that I have hacked selling stoves in Kenya. I know how to do it. And now, because I had the platform and I had access to these new people who were hungry to come and partner with us, I needed to give them something more. And because, like I said, I always say privilege is, there's a privilege that comes with privilege. And it's not that of having things. It's not that of abundance. It's being able to dream bigger because your mind is open. Right? And you're not worried about your next meal. You're not worried about your children's school fees. So now you're really worried about impacting lives. And so during that time, I read a report by the CDC, and it essentially was stating that people were still catching malaria even when they had mosquito nets. And my daughter, who's 13 now, comments and says, Mom, they're cooking using your stove when they're catching malaria. And so maybe you could do something about that. And I came up with a new idea of producing a fuel that repels mosquitoes at the same time. And I think for me, it is more of, once we hack that, what more can we offer, for our communities, for the African community, for a global market. So it's more of dream bigger till it's time for me to, move out of the way and let the next generation do what, they were put on this earth to do. But my biggest success, I would say, is not allowing myself to get content, to feel like we've made it, and understanding that there will always be more to be done, especially with each and every platform that you're presented with.
Wow. Okay, you know what? There's just so much to talk about, but we'll stop for a break to just share some of your work.
I grew up in Mukuru, which is one of the biggest slums in Nairobi. At 16, I became a teenage mom, and when my daughter turned 2, she suffered a very severe burn injury caused by a traditional stove. This sparked my interest in providing better cooking technologies for my community. My business is called Mukuru Clean Stoves, and what we do is we use recycled metal to manufacture improved cookstoves, and that is done locally here in Kenya. so they're 75% cheaper than the available alternatives in the market. And then we work with local women business owners to distribute to the last mile. Since 2017, we have sold over 215,000 stoves, enabling over 1 million Kenyans to benefit from cleaner air within their homes. I have a simple vision, which is to distribute 10 million cook stoves within the next 3 years.
Wow, 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 Charlotte. I know we had conversation during that interlude, there behind the scene, which I'm hoping will continue the conversation. But, your journey, born in Nairobi, lost your dad at age 2, lost your mom as well at age 10, got pregnant at 16, had to drop out of school, selling, stoves and charcoal and so on, and your daughter got burned. And from that, you've moved to set up a social enterprise that is not just a business or a social enterprise, but truly, truly impacting lives, in terms of the people you work with, the beneficiary, and as well, what you said, you're just not basically saying, oh yeah, we've solved that problem, but thinking about what next. Even though you've got all this funding, big funding, you're with President, all these big guns, but you still deeply rooted in your cause and the purpose, I believe personally, that God has called you to, because it's not just you. I'm being honest with you. It's a calling. It goes beyond you as Charlotte. So what I want to ask you now is, what are the 3 things that you value most in life? And I think I can probably guess, but let me hear, what you value most in life and why. Things, person, whatever it is.
I think, I think if you know me, number 1 is my daughters. I have 2 daughters now. I really value them. I value being a mother. I value, just being able to be in a space where I can family. Let me say family, because I have a really incredible partner as well, and I want to put all that in one because I value a lot of things, and I don't want to tell me that. So I think I have the most supportive nuclear family and extended family as well. But I have daughters and their dad who they allow me to be able to get out of the house and do what I need to do, or do what I was put on this earth to do, without making me feel like I'm necessarily neglecting them, without making me feel like, I'm not around too much and they're missing me. So I do know in my heart that they would love it if I was home more, but they understand and appreciate the work that I'm doing. The second thing that I value is the people that have put me in a position where I'm able to create the work that I am doing. And these are the people that I work with. These are the people who finance us. It's the networks. It's, because as you said, we have achieved a lot as Mukuru Clean Stoves, but it's not a one-man show. It's not something that I'm not a superwoman. I didn't sit down and do all this by myself. Someone helps me at every stage of my life. I have had people who, in as much as it was so hard to get access to that, I've had people who've looked me in the eye and they were like, you know what, I want to support you. I believe in you. And they've really helped me. They've helped build me, and they continue to do that. And the more these humans, men and women, they've put me in a winning position. I'm really, really grateful about that. I am grateful for the work that I have been able.
We'll be right
value
back.
the work that
Can I stop
I want
you,
to be.
Charlotte?
Okay, it's recording on my side.
So you can go on now.
Okay. The second thing I value most is the people who I work with. So those are the people who make our stoves, the people who sell them, the people who fund us, the people who support the work that I do at Mukuru Clean Stoves, because without them, there would really be no Mukuru Clean Stoves. So for me, that is family, that is the networks that I've gotten access to over the years and the people that I work with. And number 3 is, I think, being able to see the impact that we're doing. Is I value the fact that I could walk into a household of a mother using a Mukuru Clean Stove, and she can attest to the fact that it really is impacting her life positively. So it's not just a story, it's not just a dream. We've been able to turn it into a reality. And those are some of the things when it gets difficult, because entrepreneurship is so hard. And what we do at Mukuru Clean Stoves when we don't have access to funding, when someone says no to us and we're feeling a bit down and demotivated, we will go into the households that use our stoves, the women who sell our stoves, and just talk to them about the journey and why it's so important that we keep fighting hard to provide that stove to more people. And that puts us in a position where we are reminded that even though it's difficult, it's necessary that we do the hard work.
So obviously, I'm sure those three kind of, not things, but people, your daughter, your partner, your family, nuclear, the people you work with, they all probably motivate you and allow you to do what you're doing. So for you, I'm sure along the journey, like you said, you've had people who believed in you. So have you had mentors, and have you mentored others?
I would actually really, really love to tell you a story. I'll rush through it to see, just to give you context on why it is so important for people to have mentors, for people to have supporters, for you to just have someone who believes, you know what, you can get this done, because without those people, then we cannot get anything done. And the story of my very first mentor who ended up investing in my business is I went to SOCAP. SOCAP is a really big conference for entrepreneurs, and where you meet investors and you ask them to, fund your business and stuff like that. And so this was my first opportunity to, first of all, ever leave Kenya. I had never left my country. I had to go get a passport for the first time in my life. And I went to San Francisco. And I had this idea, like, my cook stoves are really amazing. I'm going to raise $1 million. I don't know why I wanted to raise $1 million, but I just felt like I could raise $1 million.
Yo.
I know, just out of the blue, give me $1 million. And I talked to a lot of people. And the more I'm talking, the more I'm realizing no one really wants to give me any money, leave alone $1 million. No one wants to invest in my business. But then the last person I talked to, he tells me, you're far off from getting $1 million, but I know someone who could help you get there. And he introduces me to this guy. His name is Bill Harrington. He's also on our board. And Bill Harrington tells me the reason why you cannot get $1 million right now is because your business is not there yet. You have to walk a journey to get there. You have to get, small amounts of funding before you don't just wake up and get $1 million. But I would like to put you in a position where you can win. So this was in 2018. And so we made a deal where for all of 2019, we got on a call every Monday for an hour. None of us ever missed a call. And we ended up discovering that we shared a birthday during these calls. And he taught me everything I needed to know from Excel, which apparently you need to get investments, and storytelling, or to run a business. I didn't know that at the time. And storytelling to get people excited about the work that you do. And it was a year. And even on holidays, US holidays from the US or Kenyan holidays, we never missed a call. And at the end of it, he became my first investor. He gave me debt financing, and I was able to pay that back. But I remember asking myself why someone who doesn't know me would dedicate an hour every week of his life to help me impact more lives, to help me understand what needed to be done to make Mukuru Clean Stoves grow. And I've had mentors, many over the years, but this is the one mentor who, to date, I still don't understand why he wanted to help me so much and why he put in so much effort. And he put me in a position where I would talk to funders without feeling like, oh my God, I'm scared, I don't know what I'm saying. Still a lot of confidence in me as well. And over the years, sometimes when I talk to a young entrepreneur and they don't know what they're doing, sometimes mentors want to go for the entrepreneurs who know something. I like going for the ones who don't know what they're doing, because that's the position I was in. I had a beautiful idea, but I did not know what it entailed to be an entrepreneur, to run a successful business, to get people to invest in your business. So I am a mentor, like you asked, and I've gotten mentorship from a lot of people. And when I think about mentorship, I think about getting someone in a winning position. That is my idea of mentorship, because that is what most of my mentors have done for me.
Wow. I salute that. man that saw you, believed in you, and invested in you, planted that seed. And I'm glad to know you as well, you're paying it forward. So, you know what? We'll be right back. Wow. I salute that man that saw you, believed in you, and invested in you, planted that seed. And I'm glad to know you as well, you're paying it forward. So, you know what? We'll be right back. I could talk to you all day, Charlotte. And I know we haven't got much time, but there's so much I still want to ask you. I loved, what you value, the mentorship, program that you said you're already doing yourself, and the mentor, your first mentor that you had, even like you said, without knowing anything, but you had a dream and you had that purpose and you didn't take no for an answer. So for you, what does success mean? And as well, as a leader, because obviously you're a leader, you're a young leader and a woman, an African woman as well. We know the dilemmas and the challenges of women in Africa with running businesses or NGOs and so on. How have you managed, to navigate, all that? And what does leadership mean to you? Sorry, I'm asking so many things.
I'm sorry. Could you repeat the question?
Okay. John, do you want to stop for us to start? Because you froze as well. So my question is, what is your definition of success? And what does leadership, mean to you? And as well, what qualities, personal qualities, do you think a leader needs to have? Because you are a huge leader in terms of what you're doing, not just with your business, I'm sure in your community as well, and a lot of different network you probably belong to.
Thank you. On a personal level, I think what success means to me is being able to create a change in the behavior of people, especially towards clean cooking. I think when I'm older or when I'm no longer on this planet, I want to leave a legacy where people understand that clean cooking is not just important for us as humans, but also for our environment, and to be able to continue to champion for that. And that also touches on what I think a great leader should be. And a lot of people say, great leaders should be compassionate, should be understanding. And I just think a great leader should be someone who's able to create leaders. And we try to do that at Mukuru. We try to, I know most of the people, would think, people are able to understand and, follow instructions and stuff like that. But I believe that if you can create just a wave of leaders coming behind you, running Mukuru Clean Stoves or running other businesses, but leaders who want to impact the planet or our lives in a positive way, not necessarily in the clean cooking or energy poverty space, but people who understand the importance of positive impact in the lives of humans, especially in underserved communities and in the health of our environment, then you have, in my opinion, become a successful leader. Someone who, in your absence, people still feel the need to do the right thing.
Oh. Wow. Okay. I'm learning as well. This is a master class, huh? You know that. So I'm learning as well as we go. So for you personally, what are some of the key life lessons that you can share with us that you believe can help maybe the younger 16-year-old pregnant Charlotte in terms of the journey you've passed now? What are some of the key life lessons you can share with us?
Number one, especially in the context of people who are in positions where maybe you're feeling hopeless, you feel like life is over, or it has stopped and you're stuck, is understanding that the actions that you take today define what tomorrow is. and then taking an action that would get you out of the position you're in if the goal is to get out of there. So I know there's a lot of hopelessness, especially in poverty, and I have lived it, I have felt it, but I am telling you, if you envision the life that you want to live and figure out a way to make small incremental changes, in 5 years, you're going to look back and be like, I cannot believe that was my life. I cannot believe that I felt hopeless in this position. So just every single day, it's the way you talk to people, you know, it's the way you look at problems, it's the way you address some of those challenges. It's you putting yourself in a winning position, even in a hopeless situation. It's you picking up a book that the pages are torn, you don't have all the pages, but there's enough information to get educated, because I had novels that I sort of created the remainder of the story because I don't know where the rest of it went. But understanding that in future you will have the full book, and just taking that and using that to get you to the future that you want to live. And I think the second lesson for me is, as an entrepreneur, I lived in the city, and then I went back to school, and then I went to rural Kenya to provide clean cooking for women. And I showed up there with a lot of arrogance, right? Because I'm the one who knew. And especially when we worked with women who maybe came from homes where they weren't empowered, and you're a feminist and you want to empower them, understanding that arrogance gets you nowhere. Arrogance is actually you not understanding and respecting a way of life of people impacts the change that you can make negatively, right? And so many times I'll get into spaces and just assume like this is a better stove, any sane person would use it, and not understanding that I needed to take my time. You know, at Mukuru we say take your time when you're talking to someone. It doesn't matter what they look like, just putting respect, you know, in the conversation that you're having. That has gotten me way farther than showing up in places and being like, I've met Prince William, you all should listen to me. They have met somebody else that I have never met, who had wisdom, who had knowledge. And so you have to listen, and you have to understand that they have, if you're getting into a community, you know way less than they do. The only thing that you do know is the knowledge you're coming with from the city, if that is the situation. And for me, it's been, again, I said this at the beginning, don't get content ever. Like maybe when we are a little bit older, but as a young person, if your life changes a little bit and now you live in a good apartment with electricity and running water, that is not enough. Do not lie to yourself. It's not enough. And if you can get 1 people to buy a Mukuru stove, one step. Get 2 people to buy it, get 6 people to buy it, and just do not get complacent in your journey, because you are built for way more than you can see, way more than you can get excited about. And understanding that, like even me as Charlot Magayi, I believe there's way more out there that I can still do. And deciding that I've done enough is what stunts my growth.
Wow. You know what? We'll be right back. Wow, indeed a masterclass. And I'll really encourage anyone watching to go back to the first segment, go back to the second, and just watch and watch over again in terms of some of your journey. Before I ask my final question, you know, thank you for sharing, you know, those life lessons, your definition of success, what leadership means to you. Powerful and very apt and inspiring. So I want to go back to Mukuru first before I ask my last question. What are your plans, you know, in terms of Africa? Because I know, yes, you have a network in West Africa, in East Africa, probably North Africa, and so on. What are your plans, you know, for Mukuru Clean Stoves? You said earlier, you know, about the fact that the legacy you want to leave is about clean stoves. And I know a lot of our women, especially in the rural areas, you know, are still struggling, and we're not even paying attention to climate change and what some of these things do, you know, for us. What are your future plans, or where would you like to see Mukuru? Or are you already partnering, you know, with others in some of those other countries, especially maybe the big ones, you know, like Nigeria, South Africa, even Ghana, even though not necessarily big. But in terms of what are your plans? Because I would want to see, Mukuru Clean Stoves being spoken about in some of this place, because I can see, what you're doing and how it can multiply, in so many ways. So what are your plans, or are you already doing that?
Yeah, so we have plans, and then we have some that we are already implementing, like Ghana, for instance. And for the longest time, we were going to go into Nigeria as the hub. We needed a West Africa hub. And we settled on Ghana because it does give us access to other West African countries, and it was a lot easier to set up there. But we are looking at Nigeria as our biggest West African market, and also looking into getting into Togo, Benin, Senegal, and the other spaces as well. And this is plans for 2024, getting access to the West African space. And then 2025, going to Southern Africa, obviously setting up in South Africa itself. That has to be the hub for that region. But over the last 6 years, we have been trying to understand the Kenyan market. And now that we do, and we have new products coming in, so now we're selling stoves, we're selling, a malaria fighting fuel, and we're selling carbon credits to provide the stoves and fuels in a sustainable way, by subsidizing the cost by sustainably using carbon credits. But the plan is to ensure that by 2030, Mukuru Clean Stoves is available in every African market that needs it, because we have some African markets that are a bit bigger, they're a bit more developed, and so they don't necessarily have a big enough market. For Rwanda, for instance, they've really grown, and the stove that we sell may not work there. But South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, those work. So we want to get access to these markets by 2030, so that we're also, helping fight climate change, and not in Kenya.
Right. Wow. Oh, very, very impressive. I can't wait. I would ask you about why you're not going to Nigeria, but I think, like you said earlier, but yeah, like you said, Nigeria is your biggest market. You've chosen Ghana. Well, I love Ghana. And yes, Ghana is...
We've chosen Ghana as the production space. Nigeria is our biggest. Yeah, so we're going to sell them. Yeah.
No, I get it. I get it.
Yeah. Okay.
I get it, but I'm hoping, that because as a Nigerian, because I know a lot of businesses are actually moving out of Nigeria, into Ghana as well to produce. I'm just trying to send a message to our government and our people there. We need to make it more conducive, for people to do businesses there. But we're still in West Africa. I'm glad to hear we're going to West Africa, because it's definitely needed across West Africa and in the rural areas, and South Africa. So I can't wait to see, Mukuru, and for us to have more conversation, about this. So my last question now is, obviously you're addressing climate change, social issues through Mukuru Clean Stoves and fuel, even for malaria and so on. What other social issues for you means something for you personally, even though you might not be the one, working on it, but something you are passionate about or would want to see changes in? But my question now is, what is the solution? What do you think are the solution, for that particular social issue?
I think for me, the two things that speak to me is education, especially for girls in rural areas and urban slums. I think for some people, education might not necessarily be the key, to a good life. But coming from these communities, you do need to use education as a stepping stone to even lift yourself out of there. And there are so many people who are solving this in so many different ways. When my parents died, I was sponsored, and that's how, my education was able to be paid by someone else who I have never met. And that worked really well, and people keep doing it. But just solutions focused around education, like providing sanitary towels for young girls so they don't miss schools, providing meals for children who in their home they only have dinner, and so they need a lunch in school in order to be able to participate, in those activities in school. And I have seen a lot of people doing it in so many ways. So I don't work in that space necessarily, but Mukuru still tries. Like at the end of the year, we'll provide school uniforms, we'll stock up libraries for schools in the spaces that we're in, because I understand why it's important for a girl to be able to stay in school, for a young boy to be able to eat something at lunch before they do afternoon activities. And the second one of it is women empowerment. I was raised, before she died, my mom was a single mother of 8 children and sold fruits in a local market. And we all went to school somehow. She didn't have a lot of money, but she ensured that all her children were in school. And I see that with the women who work as our sales agents. Every single coin they make goes back into their communities. And this is not that just their children. You will see a woman who doesn't have a lot. She lives with, cousins. She lives with nephews and nieces. She lives with neighbors. Because at the core of it, women are the ones who hold our communities together. They're the ones who lift our communities. So if we can provide more opportunities for women to thrive, for women to have more resources to take care of our communities, then we're in a good place. And this is the reason why our sales agents are specifically just women, because that money is going home. No matter how you look at it, a child who would have a uniform that's torn, that uniform is getting repaired as soon as she makes that commission. If they don't have sanitary towels, she's gonna buy it. If they haven't had proteins in their meals for the last 1 month, she gets that commission. The children gets the proteins that they need. So if we can mix those two situations together, and I think the way to solve it is, even as a social enterprise, you're solving a different problem, finding a way to incorporate that in your business, finding a way to make that part of your model, ensures that it's not left to the next person. Because the thing is, if you leave it to the next person, it's not going to get done. So if you think it and you can solve it, you need to solve it. And other people might learn and pick it up from you. But it's more of just think about it. If it means something to you, solve it. And I don't think there's anything better than being able to put in a community in a position where they can sustainably care for themselves, and the ones who hold that community are more often than not, women.
Charlotte, you are just an inspiration. I know I've been repeating that, but because you are, I don't know what other word to say. By the way, what position are you out of the 7? Your siblings?
I am number out of, we are 8. I'm number 7.
8.
But
okay.
Yeah, we are 8. I'm number 7. We pretend I'm the 8th one because my younger brother is taller than me, and people have just always thought I'm the last one. So I am. Everyone agrees I am number 8, even though I'm really number 7.
Okay, all right. Wow, I really salute you. I salute your siblings. I salute, like you said, being an orphan at a young age, those who invested, in you through education. And like you said, you didn't know them, they didn't know you, but they paid, for your education, and your first mentor, and all your people that you work with, because like you said, you cannot do this alone. You have to have a village, because this is what this is all about. And you do have all those village, your daughters, your daughter that you said, oh, mom, why can we not do this? They're already, being inspired, I believe, through you. So thank you. I see you, and we all see you. Thank you for all you're doing, because I know even deep down there, it probably is definitely, no, that is not easy, but there will be days that you probably will go, why am I doing this? Even though you know the why. When you get the doors shut, or when you're tired, because yes, you will be tired at some point, but you keep going, and please look after yourself. Look after your health as well. And I'm sure you're doing that. I can see you're well groomed, the hair, the nails.
I'm trying.
You're trying, so that's good. And I saw you as well that day, in April. So look after yourself, and, keep impacting lives positively, and, keep leaving a legacy that your children's children will be so proud of, to say, yes, Charlot Magayi was our mother, was our matriarch, was or whatever, but enjoy it as well while you're alive. And I'm sure you are. But I just feel, I don't know why I'm saying all what I'm saying, but I just believe, you would have got burnt out, you would have been so overwhelmed, you would have wanted to give up at one stage, even before all this happened. That 16-year-old girl that was selling by the roadside, But I'm glad that the journey, you're able to share that story now. And I'm hoping that people, one person, I always say, even if it's one child, one young girl, or even a boy child that is inspired by what you've shared, that is a job done for both of us today. So I salute you, I celebrate you, I honor you. We don't have a plaque to give or an award, but know that you are doing so much. And I really am humbled to be in the same space right now, with you. So in closing, I will want you to just you've already given a lot of words of encouragement in there, but I want you to now just speak directly to whoever you want to speak to give words of encouragement, be it maybe a young teenage girl who got pregnant as well, or I don't know, somebody who's dropped out of school, or somebody struggling, anybody you want to speak to, please, if you could go.
Thank you so much. And before I do that, I'd love to really thank you, Dr. Magayi, for the platform to share my story. I really, really appreciate you for that. And for those listening, whoever is, listening to this and your life feels like it's over right now and you couldn't get better and you couldn't get yourself out of there, that is a lie that, we're telling ourselves, because life can get really difficult and life can beat you so hard that you do not see anything brilliant out of this. There is no light at the end of the tunnel for you. But I am telling you, I promise you, if you tell yourself that you want to get out of the space that you're in and you do small incremental work, just with the tiny resources that you have, I promise you that it is going to change. We might not end up being billionaires. We might not end up, taking the planet to the moon or something, but I promise you, if you do a small incremental change, if you want to provide a better life for your daughter or your son, if you want to provide a better life for yourself, if you want to go back to school and you don't have the money right now, and you can only save $1 a day or $50 a day, just do it. It looks really small right now, but in 2 years, in 1 year, it's going to be so big, it'll shock you. So don't give up. Don't feel hopeless. Even if the entire situation in itself is hopeless, it is all in your mind. So if you convince your mind, if you convince your heart that you deserve better and you can have better, then you will be able to get there.
Thank you so much. You've heard it all. There's so much to unpack there. And we'll be sharing the details of Mukuru Clean Stoves at the end. So please support them if you're in Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa. Share the word, let people know about this. And yeah, you heard that. Small incremental change. Don't feel hopeless. Take your time is the slogan she says they use, at Mukuru. And so much. If you think it, you can solve it. There's so much nuggets, for me, there that people can take away. So I hope you've been blessed, and I hope, you've enjoyed hearing the story of just one person who is doing her best to impact lives positively and has gone through so much resilience, has been courageous, has been brave, has even, at one point, like she said there, she didn't even know why she said she wanted $1 million in America when she went to America. But that's just being brave, saying things, and being shy, ready to commit. Even that 1 hour a week that you said that you mentored, that you could have given up as well and say, you know what, where is this going to lead us? But commitment, all that. Thank you for that. Okay, that's all we've got time for today on Impact Africa. Till next time, I know we've gone way over the time, but it was worth it. And this is a masterclass with Charlot Magayi, who has been with us sharing a story. And she is the founder of Mukuru Clean Stoves. Till next time, stay safe, stay blessed. How do we say bye-bye in Swahili again? Kwaneri. How do you say? Kwaheri. I got it. I almost got it. Swahili should be made, I'm one of the people that says Swahili should be made the national African language. So I'll be forced to learn it.
Yes, please. Yeah. I already know it, so I'm being lazy here.
Till next time, Kwaheri. God bless you all.